Life Unrehearsed, brought to you by Lianas Senior Transition Support, specialists in downsizing and seniors residences.
And good afternoon. Welcome to Life Unrehearsed. My name is Matt Delvecchio, specializing in life transitions, downsizing, and the senior living industry.
And my name is Corrie. I'm a clinical social worker and psychotherapist specializing in grief and loss.
Coming right up on the first half of today's show, Humboldt Broncos bus crash survivor Kaleb Dahlgren. He'll be joining us to talk about the tragedy that shook Canada and the world a little more than 3 years ago. And we're going to get an update on how he's doing both physically and emotionally. Corrie, I've been waiting for this interview for a while and so grateful that Kaleb will be joining us. Now, before that, it is a big day for you and your husband, Andy, isn't it?
That's right, Matt. It is 33 years of marital bliss.
Congratulations.
Because I told him so.
Oh, well, great. 33 years. Yeah. Andy is a great guy, and you are a wonderful, wonderful couple. Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's been an exciting week because speaking of marriages, my nephew, Kenny Stein, just got engaged to Rachel. So that's really exciting too. You see the whole family just on cloud nine because we like to hear good things. So it's very exciting to hear that and to be celebrating.
Wonderful. Congratulations to Kenny and Rachel, you said, right? Yeah, way to go. All right, what do we have coming up on the second half today, Corrie?
On the second half, Marissa Miller will be telling her story of determination and grit in overcoming physical and emotional abuse. We'll be discussing something called imposter syndrome. That's the sense that someone who is successful thinks that it's a product of coincidence and luck as opposed to hard work and talent. Can't wait to hear about that. That's coming up, all that and more after the 3:30 news.
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. Looking forward to that as well. All right. Corrie, I just finished reading Kaleb Dahlgren's book called Crossroads. That was published a couple of months ago by HarperCollins. It was an instant bestseller. It was on the bestseller list for quite a while. I really couldn't put it down, Corrie. It's such a heart-wrenching yet amazing story of tragedy and resilience. And just to bring back everyone, on April 6th, 2018, the Humboldt Broncos from the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League boarded a bus and headed to Nipawin, Saskatchewan for Game 5 in the playoffs. On board the bus were the players, coaches, media, and support personnel. The bus was about 30 minutes away from the arena when the tragedy occurred. The crash cost the lives of 16 people. The remaining 13 people survived, however, many of them suffered severe injuries. Kaleb Dahlgren was one of the players on the Humboldt Broncos, and he was also one of the survivors. And we are very grateful to have Kaleb on the line with us. Kaleb, welcome to Life Unrehearsed.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be on here. Looking forward to it.
Well, Kaleb, thank you. We know you're doing a ton of interviews, and people like us keep bringing it back. But we are grateful to have you. And I guess just set a little bit of a background. Home for you, right? You're in Saskatchewan right now. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, I'm in Saskatchewan, Saskatchewan right now with my family. I lived at home this past year with COVID. It was the first time I lived at home since I was 15. So it's been a nice kind of full circle, and it's been great to just hang out with my family and rekindle, and it's really great. Yeah, home cooked meals, can't complain at all.
That's right.
Good for you. Well, first of all, congratulations on the book. It really was. I just could not put it down. And I think this tragedy really struck home with many, many Canadians, particularly the hockey and soccer moms and dads who have seen their kids hop on buses to play their favorite sport, and it did resonate with many people around the world. In fact, I was one of those ones that left the hockey sticks on outside of my porch.
Too.
Yeah,
Me too.
You did.
Yeah.
That's true, Corrie. I remember showing pictures and among thousands and thousands of people that did it around the world. And as I'm reading your book, Kaleb, it's amazing. By the way, happy birthday. Didn't you just turn, 24, was it?
Yes, I did. Thank you. Thank you so much for the kind words. I'm glad you enjoyed the book. It really means a lot. And it literally touched the entire world, the tragedy, and just to see the support has truly helped me heal in my process. I know that's a lot of people as well. So, but thank you for that. And yeah, I just turned 24. Would have been last week, I guess. So enjoying the 24 life.
Yeah, way to go. Well, you are mature beyond your years. It's just quite amazing. And if we can go back, what were the extent of your injuries, Kaleb?
So I suffered a fractured skull and a puncture wound to my skull, a scalp degloving, which is kind of like a road rash, a severe traumatic brain injury, neck fractures, so vertebrae in my neck fracture, and vertebrae broken in my back as well, muscle and ligament damage in my neck and nerve damage as well. And then I had severe large blood clots behind my right eardrum and in my left arm. And that was about it.
Oh, my goodness.
About it.
And, you know, what struck me reading the book, Kaleb, was one thing that you had talked about was you had the imprint of seat 5C, I believe, just left of your eye, which I was amazed at. And could you let our listeners know what row were you in?
So I was in row 12 on the
goodness.
bus, and I was sitting in the aisle seat driver's side. So when I'm guessing what happened, I don't remember. But I feel like we collided, and on impact, I flew forward out of my seat, hit my right side of my head, and then I think I would have got my puncture wound, or would have hit my right side of my head, then hit my left side of my head, then get my puncture wound. I'm not too sure because the 5C is on the left side of my head, and my scalp degloving and my fractured skull and my puncture wound was on my right side of my head.
Right.
So I for sure hit my head on both sides in the tragedy. I don't know where it hit. But I'm guessing it hit either on the seat or on the top roof part where it says the seat. It would have been either or.
Either or is still unimaginable. Okay, no question about it. I have no doubt that it was a long road to recovery, both physically and emotionally. So can you tell us a little bit about what that recovery process was like and how you're doing now?
For sure. For me, the recovery process was definitely interesting and difficult and hard, but also very enlightening, and it was a long road, but it was also a good road. And so in the hospital, I woke up 4.5 days later, not knowing what had happened. And when I woke up beforehand, I was in a state called post-traumatic amnesia, and that's where you're still conscious and you're still with it, but you're not really put all the pieces together. And so I didn't remember a single thing for those 4.5 days. I remember everything right up to the crash. And then after impact, everything went black. And then I woke up in hospital 4.5 days later. But I was actually on the scene. I was cognitive, talking to people. I was conscious. So I even throughout those 4.5 days, I met people. I was talking to them, but I don't remember it. Anyways, when I first woke up in the hospital 4.5 days later and came to my senses, it was difficult. I asked, do we win our game? Because I thought we played a game. And I thought I was obviously injured. And I knew that I was probably got checked from behind or something in the game, and that's why I'm in the hospital. I was just curious if we won it. And my parents were really confused, and then they ended up telling me what had happened. And it wasn't the first time they told me. They told me this before, but I just don't remember it. And so they told me again this time, and at this time it was Dana passed away. And I was so confused about it. I was like, why did Dana pass away? Like, it doesn't make sense. And then to find out that there's 15 others, it was a lot to put on me. And so I only had about 3 minutes after I was told to really come and grips with it, but I didn't believe it. So I quickly said to my parents, pass me my phone, I don't believe it. They passed me a phone that didn't really look like my phone at all. And I listened to my phone. They're like, yeah, it is. Don't you remember? I was like, no, it isn't my phone. Anyways, I said, just open it. I opened my screen, and then I went to Twitter because I thought, this isn't real. And then the first thing I saw was prayers for Humboldt strong. And so then that was when it hit me. And not even within 2 minutes later, I go downstairs for physio. And then a whole day was absolutely chaotic. I didn't have any time for myself to reflect or even sit with anything. Didn't even know my injuries either. I didn't even know who was all here and who wasn't. There were so many unknowns. And then that evening was when it really kind of hit me. I texted my roommate, and then I realized that he wouldn't get the text. He's not here anymore. So that was when it really hit me, and I was alone at that time. And I would ask questions like, why me? Why this?
Of course.
And those are like normal grieving things, though. But
yes, they are.
Shortly after, I realized that I'll never sometimes get answers for those questions, and I have to accept it and live my life to the fullest for those who aren't here and make the most of my time while I am here. And that was kind of what I did moving forward. I can go deeper into it, but I don't know how much you want me to go.
Yeah, well, no, but I think there's a couple of things. First of all, you listen to Life Unrehearsed. Matt Delvecchio here with Corrie Sirota, and that's the voice of Kaleb Dahlgren from the Humboldt Broncos, and he was involved in that tragic bus crash. And Kaleb, I guess it was a long road to recovery. We're talking over 3 years, and we all want to know how you're doing now.
Yeah, today I'm doing great, doing absolutely amazing. I ended up graduating from York University with a commerce degree and did very well academically, and now I'm pursuing my Doctor of Chiropractic this fall at Canadian Memorial Chiropractic College. I was part of the York men's hockey team and have a student-athlete attached to my name now for the rest of my life, and that's one of my goals. So I'm doing amazing right now and in a really good headspace, and I've healed. Especially throughout the book, too. It was a really great healing process for me, and I feel like I've healed from my Humboldt situation. I always will have scars, like I said in the book, but I have healed and found the beauty in it.
Well, it's so nice to hear, a cheerful voice after a long road to recovery. And already with your BCom, I know chiropractic is one of your dreams, and congratulations for pursuing that. We have to head out to traffic, Kaleb. And during, while all this was going on, there was support from around the country and the world, including the NHL and many NHL players. In fact, as you said in the book, a couple Habs saw you. Shea Weber and Brendan Gallagher came out to visit, but we really want to hear, there's an amazing story about Joe Sakic when he came to visit you. He was also involved in a bus crash in his junior years where 4 of his teammates had died in a bus crash. So we'd like to hear about the Joe Sakic story, okay, Kaleb? But we're going to head out to our CJD Traffic Center for a traffic update.
Life Unrehearsed, brought to you by Flora Lee Senior Residences. Always there for you. Safe, reassuring, and comforting. We call it home.
Welcome back to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Corrie Sirota, along with my co-host Matt Delvecchio, and we are talking to Humboldt Broncos bus crash survivor Kaleb Dahlgren. Kaleb, I understand that you mentioned this song in your book.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I think that's awesome. It's one of my favorite country songs. So I was a little jam note, not to lie. I didn't sing it, but I was jam note.
Okay, good. I'm glad. That's what we see. I like when people recognize the songs because we actually do take time to think about them. No, I want to go back. There's some real important information we want to hear about. So, as Matt mentioned, tremendous support around the country. You had Habs players come visit you, but Joe Sakic, he came to visit you, and he himself had been in a bus crash situation. Can you talk about what that was like for you to meet up with him?
It was life-changing, and I say that because for me, he was an idol growing up, and I always looked up to him as a player, but also the person he was off ice. He was captain of his team, involved in his community, and always wore his heart on his sleeve and was true and genuine, honest, humble. Yeah, he was the kind of guy that I wanted to be like growing up. Him and Jerome Magilla, those 2 guys are the ones I looked up to. And Haley Wickenheiser was in there too. And so when I met Joe Sakic, he ended up coming to the hospital and took time out of his life to meet me because he knew I was a big fan of him. And it was actually after the event, they had a Broncos parent event, and there was alumni and like tons of NHL players. It was an NHL event, and so all the time I just kind of met and congregated. And I was there at the very start, but I wasn't able to take it. It was too much stimulation for me. I had so many range of emotions. In the book, I talked about it in more detail. So I'll get to the story. So anyways, Joe Sakic came and met me, and I didn't understand fully that he was involved in the Broncos crash before us, the Swift Current Broncos. And I had actually no idea, and then he told me about that, and my jaw dropped to the floor because I put the pieces together, and I should have knew that, but I didn't. And then he said, hey, like, you're a leader this year. You got to continue being a leader afterwards. He said, this is your time to step up and be the leader you were all year. And he said, it doesn't stop once the season's over. He said, and to like really make the most of the situation that I'm in and to do it for those who aren't here. And that was what I needed to hear at that time. And that was really what put me in my place and gave me some more motivation to be the best version I could be every day and to still be the leader that I was throughout the season and even beforehand, that it's not just, like I knew before that it's not just at the rink or on your team or around your guys, it's how you carry yourself in life that you're a leader. But that was the perspective, hearing it from him. And so that was one of the big things in my healing journey, was actually meeting him.
Yeah, that's something else. Great story, Kaleb. We're talking to Kaleb Dahlgren. He was with the Humboldt Broncos hockey team and very much involved in their leadership and talking to us about the bus crash. And talk about leadership, leading by example, Kaleb, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about your coach, Darcy Hogan. And, you know, in Humboldt, there was an incredible sense of community. You really came across in the book about that far more than I would have thought. And unfortunately, Darcy, your head coach, died in the crash. And he really set the example. Always stressed family first, which was part of number one on the line of the team's core covenant. And if you could just give us a quick little, I mean, there's so many Darcy stories you can give, but what struck me was, tell us about the time when there was a huge snowstorm in Saskatchewan, and what did he do?
So that one still sticks with me today. Is one of the big things that shows what kind of coach and person he was, and more importantly, what kind of person he was. There was a huge snowfall in Humboldt. It would have been near playoffs. We were playing our last game of the regular season that next day, and Darcy put a text in our captain's group chat and saying, hey, like, come to the rink prepared. You need your snow gear, bring shovels. Make sure you shovel your billet's driveway first before you come, and then come to the rink. And so we're all like, okay, that's kind of weird, but whatever. So we all got ready, shoveled our billet's driveway, and packed up our stuff and went to the rink. And when we got there, we just left our stuff in the hallway and went to the dressing room. And he's like, all right, we're going to clean out our community. Practice canceled. The community has supported us all these years, and we need to support them in these times. They're always there for us. We got to be there for them.
Wow.
And that's when it hit me. I was like, you know what? This is amazing. Like, yes, we have our last regular season game tomorrow, but he's right. We need to be there for our community today. And it was probably one of the best team bonding exercises we could have done.
I'm
so
sure.
we all shoveled out our community out of the snowstorm, and it was a huge snowstorm. It was over like a foot that fell in the night. Even I think maybe close to 2 feet. It was crazy. And it was really nice to see the impact that we had on the community, and like all the different smiles that we'd get from people. Even just like pushing someone out from their vehicle who's stuck in the ditch, or cleaning out the old man's driveway and him waving from his front porch. Those kind of things.
So great.
So beautiful.
Yeah, no question. Kaleb, as you may have heard my introduction, I'm a grief, loss, and bereavement specialist. So your story is so powerful to me, and I was so moved and reached out as much as I could to be helpful. I am absolutely amazed at how you have coped with the entire experience. So I want to ask you, because you're the expert in your grief, what advice or suggestions would you give other people who are struggling with tragedy and hardship?
Oh boy, I could go on for about an hour, so I'll give some brief points.
Sure.
Some of the things that I really took away was to put myself in the shoes of the other ones who aren't here. And I think that's such a hard concept for people to grasp, but for me, that was one of the big things. Because if I wasn't here, how would I want the survivors to live their life? If I passed away, how would I want my family and my friends to live their life? I want them to be happy, to follow their dreams and passions, and to live life to the fullest, and to honor me, but still to do the things they want to do and remember me, but make their life fun and enjoy the little things and don't sweat the little things. And so for me, that's what I wanted if I wasn't here, and that's what I try to live by. And then also another thing is, what can I control? And I was to focus on the things that I can control. And that was another huge thing for me, was I couldn't control this crash. I couldn't control the semi-driver. I couldn't control my injuries. I couldn't even control who was here and who wasn't here. All I could control was my attitude, my perspective, how I wanted to move forward from this, also how I wanted to live my life and honor those who aren't here, and even just how I was going to move forward physically, mentally, emotionally. What did I want this to be? Did I want this to be the thing that made my life horrible, or something I could turn into something positive? And then two other things would be to focus positive over negative, and then to enjoy the grind. And like that enjoy the grind one, we all have our own grind, whether that's school, work, family, relationships, athletics. Like, they all have their own grind. Just enjoy it, because your life can be gone in an instant. And my grind was in the hospital, but it was also grinding with the mental and emotional injuries I suffered too.
Right.
It's just amazing. And enjoy the grind. You use that often in the book, Kaleb. Kaleb, we could be here all afternoon. We have only about 30 seconds left. However, we'd be remiss also. It's Father's Day tomorrow, and your dad has such an influence on your life. And you almost lost him when you were a little younger. He was very, very sick. And you want to put a little shout out to your dad and all the hockey dads out there.
For sure. Shout out to my dad, the biggest supporter of my life and my number one fan. I'm really grateful for him, and I love him very much. And to all the hockey dads out there, all the little support that you give truly goes a long way. And make sure to always tell your children that you love them and that they love you too.
I love it. Well, thank you, Kaleb. Corrie, like I said, just turned 24, but mature beyond your years.
Yes,
so,
clearly.
So pleased that you were able to join us, and wishing you the best of luck and much success.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, you guys, for having me on here. I really do appreciate it. It's great talking to you.
Great. That's
Thanks,
Kaleb Dahlgren, an inspiration to many of us. He was a member of the Humboldt Broncos hockey team that was involved in that tragic bus crash. He just published a book called Crossroads. Go out and get yourself a copy. It's available online and most bookstores. It's called Crossroads, and you won't be disappointed. Corrie, what do we have coming up in the second half?
Coming up on Life Unrehearsed, Marissa Miller, author of Pretty Weird. She's going to tell us about her journey of battling something called imposter syndrome and learning to be proud and to stand out. That's coming up after the 3:30 CTV News Update.